Some clouds in the morning, but it'll turn partly cloudy by the afternoon. And we're looking for 64, even more sunshine on Sunday, and close to 70.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jim. And that's our news, everybody. We're glad that you were with us. Have a great weekend from all of us here at Channel 2.
Golden parachutes, ballooning bonuses, millions in annual compensation, and all in a day's work for America's top executives. But now criticism is also going through the roof.
Who do the CEOs, who do our executives answer to? They're going to take as much as they can until somebody blows a whistle.
The day of reckoning may be at hand for the fattest paychecks in America.
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Chris Wallace.
This week, the chairman of the Coca-Cola Company got up at his shareholders' meeting to defend his pay and stock bonus last year of $86 million. Roberto Goizueta said that over the last decade, the company's stock went up more than 1,000%. The stockholders cheered. The Coke's profits and its chairman are the exception. In these days of recession, mass layoffs, and general belt-tightening, most corporate executives are saying very little about what they make. And some have even been forced to take pay cuts. The bosses may have only themselves to blame. During the 80s, corporate profits soared, and so did executive pay. But when those profits turned down in 1989, the salaries kept on climbing. Now, angry stockholders are asking why there is not more of a link between pay and performance. And at a time when the politicians in Washington are under fire for their perks, some of them are talking about trying to limit executive salaries. As John McKenzie reports now, for the person in the corner office, these are tough times.
The 1980s. For many, there was much to celebrate. A time of progress, a time of excess. The rich were getting richer, but so too were many others. The 80s saw every income group make gains. People moved into bigger homes and better jobs. Unemployment fell to 5.3%. There was a kind of collective confidence about tomorrow. The motto, have card, will charge. It seemed all so easy. We were told just buy now and pay later. Welcome to later. The bill has come due and many Americans can't pay. The economy has been stuck in a recession. Unemployment has risen to 7.3%. Millions of Americans are not only without jobs, but without hope they can ever regain this lost ground. William Grider just wrote the book, Who Will Tell the People? The Betrayal of American Democracy.
America has always functioned with a kind of democratic faith that the system is doing the best it can by everyone. That's no longer true. There's one group that's doing very, very well, and the rest of us out in the broad middle class and certainly below is losing what they think of, corny phrase as it is, as the American dream.
People are insecure, they're uncertain about the future, and they're taking out this frustration and these fears on those who hold power over them.
Taking it out on an ever-expanding range of public figures. On members of Congress who made $125,000 last year, but who overdrew their accounts at the House Bank, who enjoyed a subsidized pharmacy and barbershop and reserved parking at the airport. On the administration where the vice president flies a government jet to a golf game, or cabinet officials who are chauffeured around Washington in government cars.
I think those who are handling our government are doing a very poor job.
I think the perks need to be cut back quite a bit.
I don't think they're in touch with the economy and with the average person.
Even at the nation's leading charity, public outrage at the disclosure that President William Aramone collected an annual salary of $460,000.
These conclusions are disturbing, and they'll certainly outrage people who have given their hard-earned money week by week to help the United Way, help those in need. They will and should feel betrayed.
Now public distrust and disgust have spread to corporate boardrooms, to chief executive officers who boast the biggest pay and perks. Westinghouse last year lost money, but its CEO, Paul Lego, was awarded a raise, reportedly earning more than $5 million.
The reason I'm angry about this situation and the reason the large number of people in this country are angry about this situation is because we're seeing special deals for special people. We're seeing people being paid huge salaries and huge bonuses year in and year out without any correlation to their performance. And that's not good for America, and that's not the way we do things in America.
The problem is that most CEOs have not been held accountable. Shareholders, those who actually own the company, by law have no direct say in how much their chief executive is paid. It's up to the company's board of directors, people usually hand-picked by the CEO. All through the 80s, the pay gap between CEOs and other Americans grew ever wider. While worker pay grew an average of 53% during the decade and corporate profits climbed 78%, the average CEO pay rose 212%.
If the company's not doing well, then they should get a decrease in salary. Their salary should be reflective of their performance. When the average worker can't get a decent cost of living increase, and these guys are making about the billions, something is truly wrong with this picture.
Among the country's top 30 corporations, the average CEO compensation is now more than $3 million. And then there are the various stock options. How much they're worth can be difficult, if not impossible, for most people to calculate. But why are so many people bothering to calculate CEO pay when a ball player can command $5.8 million a year?
Well, there goes Benny, and he steals the base.
What are you going to do? Talk to me.
Or a singer can collect $24 million.
Stars of showbiz and sport are often seen to be like comets. They rise quickly, and they can also fall quickly. They have limited careers in terms of time. Madonna never laid off anybody, whereas chief executive officers represent the corporation which often has had to lay off people as part of its economy and efficiency drives of the recent past.
Public concerns about CEO pay are now loud enough so that several corporate boards have slashed the boss's pay. United Airlines' Stephen Wolf dropped to $5.5 million. Chrysler's Lee Iacocca had his pay docked to $3 million. And ITT's Rand Ariskog fell to $7.6 million. And now Congress is serving notice that it's prepared to move on CEO pay if more businesses do not.
The system is badly violated when the big guys receive large pay increases, while others receive no increase or paltry increases, or are even subject to layoff.
There's already one bill in the Senate to allow shareholders a direct say in determining CEO pay. And the SEC is preparing regulations requiring companies to simplify reports so shareholders can know exactly how much they pay their CEO. What's clear is that there's a new standard emerging for corporate leaders, a new demand for pay for performance. Even so, some CEOs keep looking for new, more elaborate ways to be compensated. Some have sought and received not only golden parachutes, payment after they leave office, but so-called golden coffins. That can require companies to pay millions of dollars to the CEO's estate years after he dies. This is John McKenzie for Nightline in New York.
When we come back, we'll be joined by a shareholder advocate, by a consultant who helps determine executive pay packages, and by a critic who calls these big salaries a factor in the decline of America.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Advil.
The first time I switched pain relievers, it was from aspirin to Tylenol. Then recently, I switched again, from Tylenol acetaminophen to Advil. You see, I got these really pounding headaches, and I found Tylenol didn't always get rid of all the pain. So I tried Advil and found that for my really tough headaches, 2 Advil worked better than 2 extra-strength Tylenol tablets, better than extra-strength Tylenol caplets, better than Tylenol gel caps. For my tough headaches, Advil just works better. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Well, here it is, gentlemen. Top of the world. Now, I put my camera here. Your vehicle would face out over the cliffs. What do you think? Look, if you plan to claim your vehicle's as good as a Jeep, you really need this shot in your commercial.
How are we going to get our vehicle up here?
Helicopter.
We'll lift it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Great. Let's go down and make some calls.
Same thing. It's going to be a great commercial.
Not every bird you see at your grocery store is a fresh Oregon-grown chicken. Some are out-of-state birds, which come from thousands of miles away. To make the trip, they may be frozen solid. then days later left to thaw and labeled fresh, right alongside Oregon fryers, which can go from farm to store in just one day. So for the freshest chicken, look for the Grown in Oregon label. Without it, you could be getting a totally different breed of bird.
It's deer season at Berg Machinery in Gresham and at Lennon Implement in Woodburn. Your local John Deere dealer is now offering big savings on assorted riding mowers, lawn tractors, and walk-behinds. Ask about their 30-day money-back guarantee and 90 days same-as-cash plan. Bring home a real trophy this deer season from Berg Machinery and Lennon Implement, because nothing runs like a deer.
It's deer season at Berg Machinery in Gresham.
At Lennon Implement in Woodburn through May 31st.
David Binkley here. On Sunday, the airlines from regulation to deregulation to mass bankruptcies, now price cuts. What next? We'll ask the chairman of American and of TWA.
Ralph Whitworth is president of the United Shareholders Association, a group that has fought for changes in how executive pay is determined. Mr. Whitworth joins us from our Washington studios. Ira Kay advises boards of directors on how to pay top executives, and he defends the big pay packages some CEOs get. Mr. Kay joins us from our New York studios. Barbara Ehrenreich is an author whose most recent book condemns the greed of the 1980s. She calls big CEO salaries grotesque, and Ms. Ehrenreich also is in our New York studios. Mr. Kay, you meet with corporate directors all the time to discuss compensation packages. Is there a change? Are they now getting tougher on what they pay these top executives?
Well, there has, in my opinion, in the last few years, there has been an increase in pressure on boards to link the pay of their top management to the performance of their companies. That's definitely been an increasing pressure. But I also believe that the pay for performance that it has been going on, and we do see that in the companies we consult to, that the poor companies where there is poor performance and high pay are the exceptions and not the rule. And that the Coca-Cola situation, for example, where there's very high pay with very high performance, is not an exception, as it was said in the introduction, but there are more and more examples of that.
Mr. Whitworth, let me ask you about that. From the vantage point of the shareholders, are the executives, are the corporate directors getting the message? Are they cleaning up their act?
Well, they're beginning to, but they're being dragged kicking and screaming into this change. It's not as if they're getting religion. And that's because runaway corporate pay, executive pay, is really a symptom of a much larger problem in corporate America, which is the lack of accountability that really gives the executives a free run over what they treat as their own private fiefdoms. And so when you cut through all the blood, guts, and feathers of this issue, the reason executive pay is out of control is because they're setting their own pay. They pick the board of directors, and it's a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours system.
Mr. Kay, what about that? He's directly contradicted what you just said about pay and performance, responsibility, accountability.
Well, I think that I attend a large number of board meetings, 1 or 2 a month, and there is definitely an increasing arm's length negotiation that is going on. But frankly, that's been going on for years, and it's not been a rubber stamp, and I think that the boards are taking more and more seriously the responsibility that the shareholders give them.
Mr. Whitworth?
Well, you may attend 1 or 2 corporate board meetings, Mr. Kay, but we did a study of the largest 1,000 companies just last fall in corporate America, and we found that of those 1,000 companies, the difference in executive pay, we could only find 4% of that difference attributed to differences in performance. The rest of the pay it's like a crapshoot. There's no rationality in it, and the only check we can see on it is the CEO's own personal gall.
Ms. Ehrenreich, let's step back, if we can, just for a moment from the world of both the executives and the shareholders. Why do people get so upset when they hear about these executives making millions of dollars a year? Is it just envy?
No, it's not envy. It's good citizenship, really, Chris. And if you think about it, when you have millions of dollars going to the CEO, that's millions of dollars that are not going to the employees. And we've seen, the other side of the story is that wages for workers have declined in real dollars since the 1970s. So we have the money going away from that. We also have a corporate elite in this country that is totally out of touch. It is insulated by servants, by assistants, by chauffeurs, whatever. It has no idea of the way the rest of us live. And then finally, I think there's a problem with this, that there's something, I think, decadent about it. I mean, we're like ancient Babylon. We have this bloated overclass above everybody else that can just take what it wants, as Mr. Whitworth has explained.
But let me ask you, is there something inherently wrong with big salaries if we do have one of these superstar executives who's making everyone around him rich, who's expanding the company, raising the price of the stock? Can't he be worth $25 million a year to his company?
What for, though? I mean, is it his doing, if the company is doing that well? Might it not also be partly the accomplishment of the secretaries, of the workers on the assembly line, too? They don't see their pay rise as the profits go up. In fact, as I said, wages have gone down in real dollars throughout the 80s, even as profits went up.
Well, there's
no justification
that's a fair question.
for just rewarding one guy at the top.
What about that, Mr. Kay?
Well,
Should they be rewarding just the one guy with a $25 million pay package?
Well, I think what you would find is in that those companies that are the most successful companies with the most highly paid chief executive officers, that the employees there tend to have a lot of stock of their own through their various stock purchase programs and so on. Excuse me. And they tend to do reasonably well as the stock price increases. And I think that it is impossible for anything other than an effective marketplace to determine how a chief executive officer or top management or really anyone should be paid. And that's really what makes, in my opinion, that's what makes our country so great.
This is not a marketplace determining this. As Mr. Whitworth said, we have a situation where CEOs determine their own pay. They put each other on their boards of directors, and then it's like a club. It's a little cabal. You know, of course they can command any kind of salary they want. It's nothing to do with the market.
Mr. Whitworth, very briefly, one of the arguments is, and it has to do with this marketplace idea in a perhaps a broader sense than Ms. Ehrenreich is talking about, the argument is that if you don't pay these very successful executives enough, they're going to leave. They're going to start their own company. They're going to be raided by another corporation. You buy that?
Once they get into these positions, you couldn't run them on with a shotgun. I mean, with the power and prestige and perks that go with these jobs, first of all, 80% of all the CEOs in America come from within the company, 80% of them. And they've been salivating for these jobs for years before they get them, and they'd take them for a pay cut if it were a free market. And it's not like they're some free agent batting champions competing in some vigorous market for these positions. 92% of them move on to a normal retirement, and only 5% of them change jobs. And so they get in, they entrench themselves, and they get as much as they can. Now, they're doing...
Mr. Whitworth, let me break in just for a moment, but we'll continue our discussion in a moment.
Do you remember that story about the three bears? This was too big. That was too small. And finally, something fit just right, like the new J30 from Infinity. Now, that's my definition of luxury. It's a car you just slip right into and live happily ever after. Infinity makes you want to take up driving again, doesn't it?
Point of fact. It takes the average person an average of 20 keystrokes to do an average task with their PC. Counterpoint. You can do it with just a point and click with Microsoft Windows.
Making your place look great should be fun and save you money. To do it right the first time, just ask Ace.
This 4 cubic foot wheelbarrow is only $19.99. An Ace lawn rake or round point shovel just $5.99 each.
Ace Best Buy is another reason Ace is the place for you.
The screams are silent under the North Pacific. Drift nets 30 miles long, 60 feet deep, used by Asian fishing fleets, were curtains of death for whales, dolphins, fish, and seabirds.
Fish that would be coming back to Oregon waters were not coming back.
To protect the marine environment and jobs in Oregon's fishing industry, Packwood passed legislation putting drift netting nations on notice to stop or face sanctions. They stopped. It was hailed as a great environmental victory. Tough times demand a tough leader, Senator Bob Packwood.
It's Sunday, and you have stuff to do around the house. So you go to Home Club to get a few things, but something seems different. They still have everything you need. They still have friendly salespeople and great low prices. But something's definitely changed. And then it hits you. They never used to give out balloons. Home Club is now home base. It's that simple.
Win a $10,000 home-based shopping spree or get up to a 50% discount on the home-based scratch and win sweepstakes.
It's almost Easter. If I were you, I'd fly on down to Thriftway, where your first whole Bar S easy carved boneless ham is just $1.18 a pound. And regular flavor-packed frozen vegetables in the 16-ounce package are only 59 cents each. But you better hurry, because at these prices, everyone will come to Thriftway.
At Thriftway, you always get our best.
Teen first offenders face a real jury of their peers.
You say he's intoxicated? Yes.
Does it work? You be the judge. Plus, spring break. Will your grade schoolers spend it home alone? Not if you belong to this innovative program. The American Agenda on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings next week.
We are back now with Ralph Whitworth, Ira Kay, and Barbara Ehrenreich. Mr. Kay, let's pick up on our conversation. If you were to pay one of these executives, not the $20 million he's getting now, but $2 million, what would he do? Wouldn't he work just as hard?
Well, that's a very good point. I think one of the reasons that these pay levels end up as high as they are is because it is so difficult to predict what will be the success of a company. And basically what happens is that when you look back over someone's career, such as a Steve Ross at Warner Communications, where he's created over $10 billion in value, that he ends up having earned only 2% of that. And that number comes up a lot, about 2%.
But Mr. Kay, you're not really answering my question, which is, wouldn't he have worked just as hard for the $2 million as he did for the $20 million?
The key is to put a carrot in front of him and say, you can earn as much as you want if the shareholders do extraordinarily well.
But wait a minute, why don't we apply this to other employees, too? I mean, why don't we have the same kind of incentives for them?
Most of the successful companies in America do have that kind of...
we do not have the same incentives for the assembly line worker, for example, whose pay is probably more like $5 an hour. This doesn't make any sense at all. And by the way, the value of a corporation is not created by the individual at the top. It's created by all the people. It's created by the workers at the assembly line. It's created by all the people who participate in that.
That is certainly true.
The problem is, though, is that they aren't paid the way Mr. Kay is representing. In fact, the $20 million and the $50 million ends up being much more like a gift than incentive when you look at the structure. The hurdles and the targets that they have to reach to gain these extraordinary numbers are almost like straw men. Let me give you a good example. Champion International, big, gigantic paper company out of Connecticut. That company, the CEO of that company, Mr. Andrew Sigler, has been there for 17 years. And over that 17 years, that company hasn't even returned a treasury bill rate, which is a no-risk investment, to its owners, its shareholders. And every year for 17 years, Mr. Sigler has received a bonus.
Ms. Ehrenreich, let me just break in here for a moment. With the angry mood in the country these days, there's a lot of talk coming out of Washington, as we mentioned, about trying somehow to limit executive salaries, setting caps, at least requiring full disclosure. What do you think of government getting into this?
Well, it may be that government has to get into it because the power right now of the corporate elite is so great. The only thing we can counterbalance that with is government. I would suggest if the rationale for high corporate CEO pay is that they have to make so many decisions, is let's take some of the decision-making away from them. Let's put some of the community members on the boards of directors or on the committees that determine CEO pay. Let's put some of the employees on the, let's put some of the ordinary blue-collar and pink-collar employees on the boards of directors.
The owners of the companies always have the right to do that.
All right, I'm just suggesting this. This is my reform, is reduce the decision-making power of the CEO, share that responsibility with a lot of other people, and then we won't have to pay him so much.
Well, I want to increase their accountability and build a fire under their seats so they get out of Washington and quit complaining there, quit running to Japan and complaining, and get back to the workbench and work. So I don't want government involved in this, and I don't think shareholders do or employees. What they want is to give the authority to decide the incentives to the owners, to the shareholders. And by the way, if we can find a good performing executive like we have in some of our companies, the sky should be the limit for what they make, as long as they're paid for performance. And we just want to work them until they drop. What we don't want is people that stick around for 17 years and collect a bonus every year for no returns.
Ms. Ehrenreich, some people say that for all the sound and fury these days, that people in this country really don't want to bash the rich because deep down they harbor hopes that someday they're going to be rich. How far do you think that all of this anger right now about executive salaries is going to go?
Well, you know, that's changing. Now, right now, Chris, this is an interesting time because I think we're sort of discovering the rich as a class, just as once 30 years ago we, quote, discovered the poor in this country. The Wall Street Journal had an article last week saying the rich are the new pariahs in America because finally we looked up, and instead of looking down at, the welfare recipients who we're supposed to get angry at, that's really nickels and dimes at that level, we've begun to look up and see where so much of the wealth in this country is going. And I don't want just the shareholders making decisions here, because the decisions CEOs make can be more important than any decisions made in the public sector in terms of jobs, in terms of pollution, in terms of the whole future of the country. These are decisions that everybody should have some role in.
Mr. Kay, let me bring you in here to end this. 5 years down the road, we have less than 30 seconds left, 5 years down the road, where do you see executive salaries being?
I think that all of this activity will have a chilling effect. In other words, the increases will slow down. But what I am hopeful is that there will be, as Ralph says, there will be more pay for performance, and the sky will be the limit, and that executives will only do well if their companies do well. And I also want to say that I think that the companies where there is no pay for performance should definitely look into that and have their boards and their shareholders be concerned about that.
Ms. Ehrenreich, gentlemen, thank you all for joining us very much, and enjoy the weekend. And we'll be back in a moment.
Education. It affects all of us.
You need education to get through life, period.
So many kids get lost.
Right now, IBM is working with school systems across America. We're donating equipment, volunteering time to tutor students, and creating new ways for computers to help teachers teach and better prepare young people for the world they're about to inherit.
I'm not without hope.
What do you get when you take a driving experience this pure and add 255 horsepower? Coming April 20th, the return of the pure sports car. The new Mazda RX-7.
What entrepreneurs do is they find an idea and then they risk everything every day.
We design contemporary fashions from traditional African fabrics. We're based in Oakland, but we do a lot of business with LA and Seattle.
AT&T has created a calling plan specifically for small businesses. The Small Business Option Area Code Plan gives them an automatic 10% discount for 1 or 2 area codes that they call most. Every customer has a goal. We want to help them to achieve that goal.
We can make a difference. AT&T. Call us.
Dan figures the time he saves using Microsoft Excel for his budget is time well spent with others. Microsoft Excel, the spreadsheet for Windows.
Once you taste new Kellogg's Nutri-Grain Nuggets, you'll forget post Post-Great Nuts.
Hey, this tastes better than, you know.
Oh, yeah, better than our old Nuggets.
Right, it's much better than, what's its name?
Tastes so much better. People prefer new Kellogg's Nutri-Grain Nuggets by 2 to 1. 2 to 1.
What were we talking about?
We were talking?
New Kellogg's Nutri-Grain.